We're closed.
Leaving a trail of culinary chaos in their wake, these are the 10 worst failed fast food chain restaurants that no one misses, Part 2.
Because this store is about to close forever.
Little Tavern.
I love this burger, it's so delicious.
Let's take a step back in time to the days when fast food was a simpler affair. Enter the world of Little Tavern, a once thriving chain of hamburger joints that left an indelible mark on the Baltimore and D.C. dining scenes. Harry F. Duncan, the visionary behind Little Tavern, flipped the first patty in 1927 in Louisville, Kentucky. But it wasn't until October 1928 that this iconic chain found its way to the bustling streets of Washington, D.C., and then in June 1930 to the heart of Baltimore. With its humble beginnings, it's hard to imagine that by 1937, Little Tavern had sprouted up 33 shops serving their unique brand of comfort food. What set Little Tavern apart, aside from its diminutive size and limited seating, was its catchy slogan, "Buy 'em by the bag." Their signs proudly declared cold drinks and good coffee, catering to the tastes of a simpler era. Speaking of simplicity, the chain's design was unpretentious yet charming. From 1928 to 1931, Little Taverns resembled medieval castles and later employed a Tudor cottage design. As the years passed, Little Tavern grew to nearly 50 locations at its peak. But alas, Duncan sold the chain in 1981, and by the 90s, it was facing tough times. The last Little Tavern shut its doors for good on April 29, 2008, marking the end of an era.
This place closed 6 years ago.
Geri's Hamburgers.
Came here to fire you, Geri.
Geri's Hamburgers, a fleeting star in the constellation of fast food chains that once graced the landscape of northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. Born in 1962, Geri's drew inspiration from the early McDonald's-style restaurants of its time, which isn't surprising considering that one of its original owners had been a former vice president at McDonald's. Their cartoon logo even resembled McDonald's Mr. Speedy, who evolved into the Mayor McCheese character we all know. In its early days, Geri's was all about quick and efficient service. You wouldn't find much in the way of interior seating. It was all about grabbing your grub and going. The focus was firmly on the fast part of fast food.
I gotta go fast.
By 1980, there were at least 13 Geri's restaurants scattered across the region, sporting exteriors decked out in patriotic red, white, and blue tiles. As time rolled on, Geri's evolved. Interior seating popped up, and the menu expanded to offer more than just the basics. However, despite these changes, Geri's Hamburgers wasn't able to keep up with the competition. Their corporation shut down in 1981, although several locations continued to operate independently. The last burger bastion, situated in Beloit, Wisconsin, flipped its last patty in 1999.
To sample this delicious crime against nature.
Beefsteak Charlie's.
I'm not in the mood for steak.
Beefsteak Charlie started in 1976 when restaurateur Larry Ellman decided to rebrand his steak and brew chain, donning a fresh moniker to match his new vision. Now, Beefsteak Charlie's had a marketing concept that raised eyebrows and appetites. They boasted an all-you-can-eat salad bar coupled with bottomless beer, wine, or sangria. Early 80s ads even featured a dapper actor dressed in old-time attire portraying the iconic Beefsteak Charlie, later joined by his nephew, Beefsteak Chuck. By 1984, the chain boasted over 60 locations, mainly hugging the East Coast. But then the salad started to wilt. In 1987, Bombay Palace restaurants swooped in to rescue Beefsteak Charlie's, but by then, the chain had already lost 20 locations and a whopping $20 million since 1984.
Too little, too late.
Bombay's bankruptcy in the following years signaled the beginning of the end, as Beefsteak Charlie's dwindled to just 35 outlets. Fast forward to the 90s, and Beefsteak Charlie's was a shadow of its former self, advertising its final 2 Manhattan locations. These stalwarts held on until the 2000s. Beefsteak Charlie's, with its grand promises and unlimited feasts, ultimately left us with a tale of indulgence and excess that couldn't withstand the test of time.
So, we'll get them next time?
New to BabbleTop? Then how about hitting that subscribe button? There's no studying involved, and we never give tests. Thanks.
They must be starving by now.
Pizza Haven.
Here's your very own cheesy
cheese pizza.
Let's journey back to the pizza-loving days of the 1950s and check out Pizza Haven, an American pizzeria and pizza delivery chain that had its humble beginnings in Seattle, Washington. Founded in 1958, Pizza Haven's first tantalizing aroma wafted from its ovens in the University District, near the University of Washington. This wasn't just any pizza joint, it was a pioneer in the realm of pizza delivery, earning the nickname Dial-A-Pizza. Restaurant employees armed with radio phones directed a fleet of drivers who stored their pizzas in warming ovens in the back of their trucks. Under the visionary leadership of Ron Bean, the original founder, and a succession of partners, Pizza Haven expanded its empire to include a whopping 42 restaurants sprinkled across the Pacific Northwest and California. The company didn't stop there, though. It even dabbled in international waters, opening franchises in Russia, Poland, and the Middle East. Pizza Haven was on the rise. However, as the 1990s approached, dark clouds loomed over this pizza paradise. Competition from well-funded national chains, leasing woes at some mall locations, and a series of what Bean later dubbed bad decisions brought Pizza Haven to its knees. In April 2012, the final slice was served, and the lights went out on the last Pizza Haven in Seattle Center.
That's insane. That's blasphemous.
Milligan's Beefy Burgers.
I want an American cheeseburger.
Milligan's Beefy Burgers, Florida's very first drive-thru hamburger chain, had a mouth-watering start in 1942 thanks to Elmer and Dorothy Milligan in Stark, Florida.
Thank you.
In their inaugural year, the Milligans dished out an astonishing 450,000 beefy burgers, leaving locals craving more. As California's In-N-Out Burger developed their drive-thru call box technology, Elmer Milligan was already blazing a trail in Jacksonville. By 1950, he had not one but two restaurants in town. And by 1954, Milligan's had spread its flavorful wings to multiple locations throughout Jacksonville and its booming suburbs on the west side. Back in those golden days, a mere buck could score you a sackful. That's a dozen of their famous beefy mini burgers. But as the years rolled on, so did the competition. Once heavyweights like McDonald's and Burger King came to town, Milligan's couldn't keep up. And in 1974, they closed their final Jacksonville restaurant. And just like that, the curtain fell on Florida's first fast food chain.
I'm so disappointed. I thought that you and I were going to have a real challenge.
Taco Viva.
Taco and revolution, I get it!
Founded in 1968 in Fort Lauderdale, Taco Viva rode in on a wave of Mexican cuisine that was new and exciting for the area. They were on a mission, and that mission was to introduce the masses to the magic of Mexican-inspired food. Taco Viva's menu was a fiesta of Mexican classics: tacos, burritos, enchiladas, and nachos galore. But it wasn't just about savory delights. Their signature dessert danced its way into many hearts: the aplarito. Picture this, a pastry filled with apple pie goodness and cheddar cheese, fried to a golden crisp, then sprinkled with cinnamon and sugar. That's dessert innovation right there. Over the years, with the help of dedicated employees and loyal customers, Taco Viva expanded to over 85 locations across 11 states. It seemed like the Tex-Mex dream was unstoppable. But alas, not all good things last forever. In 1989, Taco Viva was scooped up by Miami Subs, leading to the conversion of many locations into Miami Subs joints. Later, the remaining Taco Viva torch was passed to another company. And so, the Taco Viva story closed its chapter, with the last known location shutting its doors in 2005.
I'm hungry. Let's get a taco.
Red Barn.
I call this turf and turf.
Red Barn was a fast food chain that emerged from the fertile grounds of Springfield, Ohio in 1961. It was the brainchild of three partners who dared to dream of a fast food empire in the shape of barns, with inviting glass fronts and cozy, limited seating. These barn-like structures soon became iconic. At its zenith, the Red Barn brand stretched its reach across 19 states with an impressive 300 to 400 restaurants. However, their success wasn't just about the architecture, it was about the food. Red Barn was known for its Big Barney,
I spent the night with your friend Barney.
a burger reminiscent of the Big Mac, and the Barnbuster, a nod to the Quarter Pounder or Whopper. They weren't just followers, Red Barn were trailblazers. The Big Barney paved the way for the Big Mac, predating it by a few years. Red Barn also gets credit for being the first to introduce self-service salad bars, a concept now taken for granted in today's fast food world. As the 70s rolled into the 80s, the winds of change swept through Red Barn. New owners came aboard, but their appetites weren't for the food industry. Slowly but surely, franchise leases expired and the iconic Red Barns disappeared from the fast food horizon. The last lease flickered out in 1988, marking the end of a unique chapter in American fast food history.
Hey, open up!
Carrols.
This is a tasty burger.
The story of Carrols began in the 1960s when they entered the Rochester market. At its zenith, Carrols boasted around 150 outlets, primarily in upstate New York and Pennsylvania. In those days, it was often the only fast food game in town. Hamburgers for 15 cents, milkshakes for 15 cents, and French fries for a dime. For a whopping 40 cents, you could score a full meal. And their menu wasn't just about the classics. They dished out the sea fillet fish sandwich and crispy country chicken. However, Carrols soon realized it couldn't compete with the marketing muscle of its billion-dollar competitors. In 1975, Burger King, for example, had nearly 10 times the number of restaurants as Carrols. So, Carrols struck a deal with the king, Burger King, that is. Many of their restaurants were converted to BK outlets, and others were shuttered. By 1977, all but one of the Carrols restaurants had vanished, and that lone survivor waved its final goodbye in 1981.
I'm gonna hide and change my identity.
Lums.
Homer, you forgot to eat your hot dog.
Lums, an American family restaurant chain rooted in Florida, was the brainchild of Stuart and Clifford Perlman, who made a smart move in 1956 by snatching up a Lums hot dog stand for a cool $10,000 in Miami Beach, Florida. These brothers had a vision, and it wasn't just hot dogs. It was about aggressively expanding and franchising. Lums was known for a signature item that set it apart: hot dogs steamed in beer. This unique twist on a classic dish had folks flocking to their restaurants. Fast forward to 1971, and Lums found itself in new hands. John Y. Brown, the chairman of Kentucky Fried Chicken at the time, along with a group of investors, took the reins. The new owners weren't content with just hot dogs, so they set out on a quest to find the perfect hamburger. In pursuit of perfection, Brown coughed up a cool $1 million for Ollie Gleikenhaus's Ollie Burger recipe. But as the years rolled on, Lums faced its own set of challenges. In 1978, Wienerwald Holdings stepped in and purchased Lums, but their ambitions exceeded their grasp, leading to bankruptcy in 1982. Sadly, the original Lums location in Miami Beach, where it all began, shuttered its doors in 1983, marking the end of an era.
I was thinking about how it's an end of an era.
Royal Castle.
Grandma's on the money.
Founded in 1938 by William Singer, this Miami-born burger joint had a motto that resonated with its patrons: fit for a king. Its initial outpost stood proudly at Northeast 2nd Avenue and 79th Street in Miami. Royal Castle wasn't just content with one crown, it expanded its kingdom to a total of 175 locations across Florida, Georgia, Ohio, and Louisiana, with the heart of its realm firmly rooted in Miami. Back in the day, in 1961 to be precise, Royal Castle made waves by offering hamburgers for a mere 15 cents, while fries and birch beer could be had for a humble 7 cents each. But that's not all. They were early risers too, serving up breakfast with freshly squeezed orange juice made to order. In 1969, Performance Systems, a company with a knack for chicken franchises, acquired Royal Castle for approximately $9 million. However, as fate would have it, they overextended themselves, leading to the sale of Royal Castle. By the 70s, the kingdom of Royal Castle began to crumble in the face of fierce competition from fast food giants like McDonald's and Burger King.
They just boarded her up like she was some common warehouse.
Find more great videos with just a tap or a click. Show us some love and hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell.